Good morning, dear children. Today we are going to begin a new chapter in mathematics. In the previous few classes, you have learnt to multiply numbers, and now you are going to learn to divide the numbers. In both the cases, we use multiplication tables, and I'm sure by now you are thorough with the tables till 20. Division is actually the inverse of multiplication. When we divide, we share the total quantity of the thing equally. So today we will learn about properties of division, terms used in division. We will also learn to divide a number by 1 or 2-digit number and how to divide and verify. So, let us begin the class. Repeated subtraction is division. Here, we have a number 15 divided by 3. We need to find the answer. So, as we said, division is repeated subtraction. So, when we subtract 3 from 15, we get 12. Then subtract 3 from 12, we get 9. And again subtract 3 to get 6. And then subtract 3 to get 3. And 3 minus 3, finally we get 0. Here, to find the answer, we count the number of times the digit has been subtracted, which is 5 here. Now, the next is division means equal sharing or equal grouping. Now, in the picture we see there are some ice cream cones and we need to divide it into 4 groups. So, let us count the number of ice cream cones first, which is 13 here. In order to divide it into 4 groups, we divide it by 4. And when we recall the table of 4, we see 4 3s are 12. So, we put 3 ice cream cones in each group and 1 cone is left. Next, count the number of lollipops, which is 19 here, and in order to divide it into 3 groups, we again divide it by 3, and when we recall the table of 3, we find 3 6 are 18, and so we put 6 lollipops in each group and 1 lollipop remains. Next is division and multiplication are inverse operation. Suppose we have a number 42 divided by 7. The answer is 6. So, when we multiply 7 by 6, we get 42. Terms related to division. When we learn division, we come across the terms like dividend, divisor, quotient and remainder. Here, 365 is the dividend, 3 is the divisor. When we divide, the answer that we get is the quotient, which is 121, and the remainder is 2. In order to check whether the division is correct or not, the formula that we use to check is dividend is equal to divisor multiplied by quotient plus remainder. So, 3 multiplied by 121 plus 2 will give you 360. 65. So now we come to the properties of division. The first property is when a number is divided by 1, the quotient is the number itself. Suppose we have numbers like 5 divided by 1, we'll get 5. Here 62 divided by 1 will be 62. 125 divided by 1, the answer will be 125. When any number is divided by itself, the quotient is 1. Here 64 divided by 64 is 1. 586 divided by 586 will be 1. So the next one is when 0 is divided by any number, the quotient is always 0. So 0 divided by 58, the answer will be 0. 0 divided by 6423, the answer will be 0. Division by 0 is not allowed. This is the fourth property. Now we will learn to divide by 1 and 2 digit numbers. So let us begin dividing by 1 digit number. Take a number 1925, which is the dividend here. In order to divide the number by 5, which is the divisor here, we see the first digit of the dividend, which is 1, and 1 is less than 5. So we need to consider 2 digits together. And then we look into the table of 5. We need to find a number which is nearest to but less than 19. So 5 threes are 15. So we write 5 threes are 15, and when we subtract 15 from 19, we get 4. Then we bring down the next digit of the dividend, and now the number is 42. Again we look into the table of 5. So here 45 eighths are 40, which is the closest number to 42. So we write 5 eighths are 40, the remainder is 2. Then we again bring down the next number, that is 5, and write it as 25. Again we look into the table of 5 and we see 5 fives are 25. So we write 5, and when we subtract 25 from 25, we get the remainder as 0. So here we get the quotient as 385 and our remainder is 0. Let us take another example. 7484 divided by 9. Here again, the first digit of the dividend is 7, which is less than the divisor, and the divisor is 9 here. So we take 2 digits together, that is 74. Now we look into the table of 9. So we see 9 eighths are 72, which is the closest number to 74, and it is also less than 74. So we write 9 eighths are 72, and we subtract and get the remainder as 2. We bring down the next digit and write it as 28. Again we look into the table of 9 and we find 9 threes are 27. So we write down 27, subtract it from 28, the remainder we get is 1. Now again we bring down the next digit, which is 4, and we write it as 14, and then look into the table of 9. So here 9 ones are 9, which is closer to 14 and also less than 14. So we write 9 here and subtract 9 from 14 to get remainder as 5. So here the quotient is 831 and the remainder is 5. 34,854 divide by 3. We see the first digit, and here the first digit is equal to the divisor. So we can go along with the first digit itself. 3, look into the table of 3. 3 ones are 3. So we write 3 ones are 3. When we subtract, we get 0. Now we bring down the next number, which is 4. So again we look into the table of 3 and we find 3 ones are 3. When we subtract 3 from 4, we get the remainder as 1. And then we bring down the next digit and write it as 18. So again we need to look into the table of 3. So 3 6 are 18. So when we subtract, we get 0. Now we need to bring down the next digit, that is 5. So again 3 ones are 3. So we write 1, write down 3 here. The remainder we get is 2. Then again we bring down the next digit and write it as 24. Look into the table of 3. We see 3 8s are 24 and the remainder is 0. So we have the quotient as 11,618 and the remainder as 0. Let's take one more example. 19,274 divided by 8. So the first digit is less than 8, which is 1. So we take two digits together and then look into the table of 8. So 8 2s are 16. So which is closest to and less than 19. So we take 8 2s are 16. The remainder we get is 3. Now we bring down the next digit and write it as 32. Look into the table of 8. 8 4s are 32. The remainder is 0. Now we bring down the next digit, that is 7. Now here 7 is less than 8, which is the divisor. So we have one option, that is 8 zeros are 0. So we write 0 and the remainder is 7. Now we bring the next digit and write it as 74. Look into the table of 8 and we find 8 9s are 72, which is nearest to 74 and also less than 74. So we write 72 here and the remainder we get is 2. So the quotient is 2,409 and remainder is 2, dividing by 2-digit number. Let's take an example. 518 divided by 12. So when it is a 2-digit number, we will consider the 2 digits of the dividend. So the first 2 digits are 51. So let us look into the table of 12. We see 12 4s are 48. So we write down 48. When we subtract, the remainder we get is 3. So we bring down the next digit and we write it as 38. We look into the table of 12 again, and 12 threes are 36. So we write 12 threes are 36, and the remainder we get is 2. So this is a easy one, and we get the quotient as 43 and remainder as 2. Now we divide and check. Till now we have learned to divide. Now we will divide as well as check whether the answer we get is correct or not. Let us see. Now when we do the division, we need to remember the formula. Dividend is equal to divisor multiplied by quotient plus remainder, which I had shown you earlier. So this formula will be applicable to do the verification. Let's take a digit. 80,415, which is the dividend here. 7 is the divisor. So let us divide and check our answer applying the formula. The first digit of the dividend is greater than the divisor. So we can begin with the first digit itself. 7 ones are 7. The remainder is 1. Now we bring down the next digit and write it as 10. Look into the table of 7. So 7 ones are 7. The remainder is 3. Let us bring down the next digit, which is 4, and we write it as 34. Look into the table of 7 again. We have 7 fours are 28. The remainder is 6. Bring down the next digit again and write it as 61. So again look into the table of 7 and find the number which is closest to 61 but definitely less than 61, which is 56. So 7 eights are 56. When we subtract, we get the remainder as 5. Now we bring down the next digit and write it as 55. So look into the table again. So 7 sevens is 49 and the remainder is 6. So here the quotient is 11,487 and the remainder is 6. Now when we apply the formula, that is dividend is equal to divisor into quotient plus remainder. So we will multiply the divisor 7 with 11,487 and then add the remainder, which is 6, and the answer that we get is the dividend. So if we get the dividend, that is 80,415, it is verified that the sum is correct. So hope you understood what has been taught today. You will become perfect in division only when you solve the sums given. So do the assignment given today. Thank you.